time for another installment of Joel and the Genius. Now, I know we've been away for quite some time. It's been about two and a half months or so since our last installment, and I am happy to be back with you guys. Mike and I are ready to bring you more episodes, regular installments. We have a whole new setup. A couple things happened. No need to go into detail for you guys, but we have still the top five. We are still going with the old school, new school, and we are still, of course, going to bring you the finisher. Our final take, our final talk on what needs to really be addressed in whatever it is we're talking about in our particular topic. We are going to do long distance chats between Mike and I, where we're going to be talking to you kind of like an intentional talk or a first take long distance style type of show. But what we want to do is keep coming with those episodes regularly for you. We're excited about it, and we got a new setup. Our studio's looking a little bit different. We're trying some new things, new formats like I've already mentioned, and we're very excited to bring you Joel and the Genius on our YouTube channel. Remember, like, follow, and subscribe. Comment, tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like us to talk about, if you have any particular takes on things that you really think that we should address. We really just want to make this a very encompassing show that really gets into everything. We are not strictly going to talk about fantasy football. We are not strictly going to talk about basketball or baseball. We're going to talk about everything. Yes, those are our particular areas of interest and the things that we love, the things that we grew up playing, the things that our fans love. So we're going to keep on with those things. We do have, our next show is going to be talking about fantasy football, what you may or may not have done, and if you're in that final playoff push. I myself personally am not. My team just pretty much crapped out right towards the last 2 weeks of the season, and I'm very disappointed, but Mike is going to talk to us about the things that you could or could not have done to address that. Right now, we're going to get into the top five, which Mike is going to bring you talking about the Giants with their abysmal season and how they're going. Granted, they've had 2 wins in the past couple weeks, which made them think, oh, wow, the Giants are fantastic. But in reality, the Giants still have the same problems that they've had the whole entire time. And Mike is coming at you with the top 5 to let you know what that is.
The number one reason the Giants are struggling is the same reason the Giants have been struggling for the last 3 or 4 years. And I've been saying it to every Giant fan, and none of them would listen to me. None of them would admit to it until finally this year. Eli Manning. First of all, Eli Manning was never elite. Let's get that straight. Peyton Manning was elite. Eli Manning was average at best. He's a mediocre quarterback. Just look at the numbers. This is his 15th season. Quarterbacks are judged most by what? Wins and losses. Okay, so let's look at his wins and losses. In his 15-year career, this being his 15th season, he's had 5 seasons of 10 or more wins. He's had 5 seasons of 7 to 9 wins, right in the middle, those mediocre years. And including this year, because let's face it, this year they are not finishing any better than 6 and 10. This will be his 5th year of 6 or less wins. 5-5-5. Very mediocre. When it comes to the rest of the numbers, let's go to yards. With yards, in the 15 seasons, he's had 13 seasons where he's had 15 or more games. So when we're looking at stats, when we're looking at yards and touchdowns right now, I'm only going to focus on those years where he's had 15 or more games. In those 13 seasons, he's had 6 seasons of 4,000 or more yards, and only one of those years did he have more than 44-32. He had 49-33 in his magical season of 2011, their Super Bowl season, or their second Super Bowl season. Outside of that 49-33, that 49-33 is 500 yards better than his second best season. He's had 3 seasons of 3,500 to 3,900 yards. He's had 4 seasons of 3,500 yards or less. So again, these numbers are very mediocre, especially in the era that he played in where passing is more predominant than it was earlier, maybe 20 years ago. Touchdowns, again, very mediocre. 3 seasons. 3 seasons of 30 touchdowns or more, with 35 as his career high. 4 seasons of 25 to 29. 6 seasons of 24 or less. Interceptions, on the other hand, he's had 3 seasons of 20 or more interceptions, including a whopping 27 interceptions just 2 years after that miracle second Super Bowl of 2011. He's had another 15 to 19 picks 5 different times. And 5 different times he's had 10 to 14 interceptions. And of those 5, 3 of them were 14. So in all except 2 seasons in his career, he's thrown at least 14 interceptions. He's been a turnover machine from day one. And if you look at it, his decision making has never been great. And as his skills continue to decline, it's just getting worse. The offensive line is bad, but they've made improvements. It's not the line. It's him. He makes bad decisions. He throws off his back foot more often than not, and throwing off his back foot causes him to float the ball, leaving it up in the air for interceptions. Odell Beckham is about the only guy on the team that they have that's going to go up and get the jump ball. And even he isn't really the jump ball guy. Yes, he's going to beat you deep, but he's not that Randy Moss where he's going to highball it. He doesn't highball it very often. And so those floaters that Eli's throwing are just basically jump balls for the free safety to get over there and snatch away. So Eli, very mediocre his entire career. Pause it. I'm constantly attacked by Giant fans telling me, oh, but what about the Super Bowls? Eli's got the 2 Super Bowls. The Super Bowls were a result of the defense. Oh, but he's got the Super Bowl MVP. Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl MVP. It's not what Eli has done. He's had a couple of really good years. He's had some really bad years. The last 3 out of 4 years have been really bad, and they're getting worse. It's over for Eli. Quite frankly, it's about time they bench Eli. They need to bring in that rookie that they drafted in the 4th round last year and see what he's got. Because it's really decision time for the Giants. They decided to go with Saquon Barkley in the 1st round last year, and frankly, I don't think that was a mistake. Barkley is a game changer. But Eli was done last year, and he is done this year. And it's time to move on. So what they need to do is see what they have in this new guy. If he's the answer, then you build around him. If not, then you have to address quarterback either in this year's draft or in free agency come next February. When you know your quarterback is on the decline, there are ways around it. And that's why the Giants' number 2 problem is play calling. When your quarterback drops back too far, takes too many sacks, isn't making smart decisions, the way around that is to get the ball out of the quarterback's hand quicker. First of all, you have Saquon Barkley. Commit to the run. If you run the ball more, you're going to open up the play action pass. You're also going to slow the pass rush a little more. Other ways of slowing the pass rush are screen passes, draws, bubble screens, again, quick 3-step drops and slants where you're getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly. When you're doing these things, you're taking the decision making out of the quarterback's hands. He doesn't have to think about it. He's dropping 1, 2, 3, throw the ball in the slant. It's quick, it's fast, and now the ball is in the hands of your playmakers where, yes, okay, maybe it is only a 3-yard pass, But an Odell Beckham is the type of talent that can take a 3-yard pass and turn it into a 90-yard touchdown. You have the same thing with Sterling Shepard and Ingram, and the Giants have a lot of weapons at their disposal. Saquon Barkley, I mean, again, I touched on it earlier. He's an incredible talent. You get the ball in these guys' hands quickly, get it out of Eli's hands, and you have a much better chance of success. There have been teams that have won with both young quarterbacks and both older quarterbacks that were past their prime. Examples of both. Young quarterbacks, you have Ben Roethlisberger, you have Russell Wilson. Both of these guys led their teams deep into the playoffs their rookie seasons, and they did so with great defenses, first of all, committing to the running game, and when these guys did throw the ball, they called plays that made it easier for these young quarterbacks to just, one or two guys just get the ball out of their hand. You don't have to try to go through 4 different reads. When you're struggling with reads, whether because you're young or because you're just getting too old, you got to find ways to get the ball out of their hands quicker. Don't let them think. Another example, Peyton Manning. Again, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Peyton was elite. But if you think about that last season he had with Denver, there was a legitimate question as to who should be starting. Peyton Manning or Brock Osweiler? Think about that for a second. I'm going to let that resonate. Peyton Manning or Brock Osweiler? And still, the Broncos won the Super Bowl. Again, defense, running game, and smart play calling when they did have to pass the ball. So play calling has been a major issue for the New York Giants. The third biggest issue plaguing the New York Giants right now is lack of leadership. They really don't have anybody in the locker room that can just grab these guys and shake them and whatever it takes to tell them, get your stuff together, show me some heart. Eli's never been that guy. Even again, back in the Super Bowl years, those teams were led by Michael Strahan and, other vets in the locker room. Eli was never really that, the guy to get in the guy's face and tell him, this is what you got to do. It's just not his personality. I don't know if it's because he's the youngest child or, what the deal is, but it's just not in him, and it never has been. It's not his game. Odell Beckham may be the highest paid offensive player on the team, but he certainly is not a leader. Yes, he plays with his emotion, his heart on his sleeve, but his leadership skills are just lacking. Whatever it is about him, he doesn't inspire teammates to follow. His sideline antics, it's not leader-esque. Saquon Barkley's a rookie, and there's just these are their best players. They're just not leaders. Well, Eli, again, not necessarily best player anymore, but he's the veteran. He's who you would expect, quarterback veteran. You'd expect him to be the leader. It's just not him. The other best players on the game, it's just not them. Or again, it may be Saquon, but as a rookie, it's hard to demand that respect. You can't really just walk in the locker room and start telling people what to do when you're a rookie. It's not the way it works. So lack of leadership is a major issue in that Giants locker room right now. There's a lot of discontent. They're in the media talking about each other, have been since last year. These are not things that are conducive to a good team environment. And, football is a team sport. It takes these guys. It's not always about the most talented players when you have team sports. Football, basketball, these are sports where it really takes the cohesive unit more than it takes the individual talent of players. So, these things are really important, and unfortunately, the Giants just don't have that right now. Fourth biggest issue with the Giants right now is the offensive line. I touched on it earlier. They're slightly improved, but that's just slightly. They're still one of the worst units in football. They in the offseason, they went and signed Nate Solder. They made him the highest paid left tackle in football. Is he the best left tackle in football? Absolutely not. They made him the highest paid because it was a position of such dire need that they did what they had to do to fill that hole. He's decent. He's much better than anything that they had, but he's above average. Will Hernandez, their second round draft pick. Again, solid player, very good prospect. He's a rookie. He's going to have his bumps and bruises along the way. Much better than anything that they had. Much better than anything else that they have. But then that's it. They've got the left side addressed. They have no center and no right side. So there's no, and that goes for both. They're not good at pass blocking. They're not good at run blocking. So I mean, they're not opening up holes. They're not stopping the penetration. They're just very, very deficient. So there are a lot of holes that they have to fill still. And until that offensive line plays better, let's face it, that's where the game is won, the trenches. The teams with the best offensive lines and best defensive lines are the teams that win football games. You really can get away with mediocre skill players if your quarterback has all day to find these guys and to let these guys get open, and if the holes are so big that a Mack truck can drive through it, you can get away with a mediocre running back. So really, the offensive line and defensive line are the most important positions, and unfortunately, the Giants are built from the back to the front and not the front to the back, and that's why they've been struggling the way they have. I'm a Raider fan. I've seen out-of-touch delusional ownership who's just way too hands-on. The Raiders struggled for years because of it. The Buffalo Bills are going through it right now. The Dallas Cowboys have waited in mediocrity for years because of an owner that can't get out of his own way. Well, John Mara looks like he might be the same type of guy. When you go out into the media and you start talking about how Odell Beckham is the one that needs to make more headlines with his plays and not with his mouth, and it's you're kind of making it sound like it's his fault for the struggles and not the fact that you pretty much backed your coaches into the corner, forcing them to play Eli Manning, and pretty much telling them that they're the ones that need to make it about Eli. I get it. Eli helped you get 2 rings. You guys are excited. You were like all these other fans I've been telling for years about Eli. You need to step back and let your football people run football operations, because your football people know that Eli is done. So instead of trying to make it about Odell and his misguided passion, you need to make it about your lack of quarterback, your lack of offensive line, and the fact that you haven't had these things for years, but continue to throw money at skill positions. Wide receiver is not your issue. Offensive and defensive line is your issue. Do something about it.
Mike, thank you so much. That was fantastic. Unfortunately, you are right, and I'm sure a lot of Giants fans are really going to be angry at you for that, or perhaps going right along with it. I think any fan of their team in general, and as well, being a Raiders fan, really understands that there are some terrible things happening within your organizations. And fortunately for those 2 bright points of Saquon and Odell, there is a bright future for the Giants and Giants fans. That being said, it's time to get right into the old school, new school segment of our show. Greg Popovich was quoted by saying the game of basketball is boring. That because of the three-point shot, there's no more fun in it. There's just no more enjoyment to basketball. And you know what? I love Greg Popovich. If you guys don't know me already, you haven't seen in what's going on in the studio, and I am a huge Spurs fan. I have been for a very long time. Through the ups and the downs, San Antonio has been a great franchise. And everybody knows basketball, knows that Greg Popovich is one of the best coaches in the game. He just went up to 4th on the all-time list of 1,211 wins, and he's just an amazing coach. Some people call him the Bill Belichick of basketball because he keeps it real, he's just blunt, he's to the point, and you know what? That's what really people need. So getting to the point of how the three-point shot has made the game boring, I am in total agreement with him. And going into old school, new school, we talked about this in our first show. And if you guys missed that, we really talked about how the game has changed. Now, the three-point percentage has been upped significantly. Who is the top shooting team in the NBA for three-pointers? The Warriors, clearly. There have been 8 50-point games in the first half of this season by various players. How do you get to those 50 points? Shooting a ton of threes. Three-point attempts has skyrocketed. Most players who are shooting those three-pointers, we're looking at Steph Curry, we're looking at James Harden, okay, Klay Thompson, even big men. And this is the real problem that I have with the three-point shot currently now, amongst others. But we'll start off with this. Big men. Why are big men taking the three-point shot? Stepping so far out of the comfort zone where they can't hit that inside two-pointer. They're going to hit the three because everybody wants the three. Greg Popovich also said that, what are we going to do? We're going to have a 4-point play and a 5-point play? How much does the game really need to change? This new school way of basketball, granted, it's high scoring. The kids love it. But there really is nothing to it. The ball gets inbounded, okay? 2 dribbles, boom, you pop a shot. Steph. I love Steph Curry. He's a fantastic basketball player. This guy can hit shots from anywhere on the floor. It is amazing to watch. I will not deny that. But at the same time, it takes away the magic of the three-point shot as well. It used to be where a guy would get the ball inbounded, okay, down in the corner, at the buzzer, pop the three. That's the game. Everybody goes nuts. I don't know if anybody really remembers Big Shot Bob, but Robert Horry was the man for hitting those shots late in games. And so many players would just get that ball inbound on a three and then just pop it, and it was fantastic. The crowd goes wild. Now it's so commonplace that we just shoot the three, inbound shoot the three, inbound shoot the three, inbound shoot the three. 2 passes shoot, 2 passes shoot. Or if in most of the case, it's Steph just dribbling it up and then he takes the shot. James Harden dribbles it up, takes the shot. There's no motion offense. There's no pick and roll. The top assist leader, as many of you know, is John Stockton. LeBron is next on that list. He needs 7,000 more assists to get to that. The next guy on that list that is a current player is Chris Paul. Now, I am not taking away from actual talent of these basketball players. What I am taking away is the fact that the three-point shot, as Greg Popovich has said, has ruined the game because of the fact it is boring. All we're going to watch is threes and have 150-point games, 150, 120. Now, certain teams that don't have the high shooting percentage players will have lower scoring games. But does anybody care about those teams? Not really. Another point that I like to make about the three-point shot that really gets me going crazy is that from a coaching perspective, you can't defend against the three. Because, all right, so you're going to go out there and put a hand up in the guy's face. All right, you foul him. Now it's a 4-point play. Now you've caused a problem for your team. And if you're down by anything, what are you going to do? And now some teams, again, all they're going to do is chuck up the three, chuck it up all day long because they've gone to such a scoring deficit because the other team has better three-point shooters. It's changed the game in that way. So you can't work on the ball inside because you're down by so many points. The third point I'm actually going to try to make here is the fact that another coaching perspective is watching these little kids play, okay? Now, some really may not see this as I see it, but when little kids are out there, obviously they want to emulate their favorite players. So they're going to go out there, they're going to chuck threes. Sorry, guys. I love you, but at the same time, you can't hit those shots. You're going to hit 1 out of 15, and then it's going to be like, everybody's going to go crazy. But 1 out of 15 shots where they should be inside shooting the ball from the range that they can make. There are so many players that can get in closer and shoot the ball so much better. No one takes the little 18-footer, 16-footer, 12-footer. It's the three, or it's a layup, or it's a dunk. I can't even remember really when I have seen some fantastic dunks or some great assists. You know, a little dish, some guy jams it. They had the... Just recently, there was a picture of LeBron and D-Wade back when they were on the Heat, where D-Wade comes out and he does a little behind-the-back dish to LeBron and he throws it down, and it just looks like this, and LeBron's in the background. It is an iconic picture. We don't see that too much anymore. You see a guy get inside and dunk on somebody, but we're really not having that move the ball inside, shift the defense, get guys out of position, and get open looks. They're just dribbling up the court, popping a three, and that's it. It's as simple as that. So again, I agree with Greg Popovich, and I want to go back to the old school format of the game where we do have some inside plays. We do have some pick and roll. Get those assist numbers. Get people more involved in the game, or instead of just having one superstar putting up 36, 43, 45, 48. You know, spread the ball around. Now, does the change of talent change that game? It probably does. But you're going to look at a guy like, say, Zion Williamson coming out from Duke, where his game is very versatile. He's a powerhouse inside, and he can shoot the ball. How many of these guys are really coming out thinking that they can play inside? I bet you in a couple more years, we'll see things change and go back to the inside game where there are just thunderous dunks on people. We're looking like Shawn Kemp style, Shaq style. Everybody just power, dominance inside. I'd like to see the old school game come back, the new school three. It's taken away the magic of the game. I agree with Greg Popovich 100%. We'll be right back with the finisher.
Finish him!
Welcome back, everybody. It is time for the finisher, the last part of our show where we just really let it go. We really tell you what's been on our minds and show that some things just can't be left unsaid during our show. And this one for me is particularly an important one because of an experience that I had just recently. So about a month ago, I had the pleasure of going to France to visit some family, and in that time, I got to see a PSG game. For those of you who don't know what PSG is, it's Paris Saint-Germain, the marquee team in Paris right now with the two most phenomenal young stars, perhaps in football right now, of Neymar Jr. and Kylian Mbappe. Now, when you mention Mbappe, you think a lot of great things. Youngest star in FIFA, scored some amazing goals during the World Cup. This guy is a superstar. It is exciting to watch him. That night that I saw that game, he had 4 goals. It was unbelievable, hat trick. The place was electric. The first point I want to make about soccer that people miss, and you don't really get that in the United States, is the energy of these games. When you go there, you have the drums. Hey, it is unbelievable. And it is non-stop. For 90 minutes, those people are there getting the crowd going, and they make that game intense. A lot of you people who say, oh, soccer's boring, this and that. Well, you have to go watch a live soccer match, all right? Soccer is a slow game, but when that intensity just hits, it is phenomenal, and it cannot be beat, okay? The same thing could happen in other sports where guys are shooting threes or throwing touchdowns, but it doesn't have that electricity, the build up to that particular point. As far as I'm concerned, I think soccer is an unbelievable game. But the point is that really what makes people hate soccer is my least favorite part, being a player of the game and now a coach of it for young kids, is flopping. And when I mentioned Neymar's name earlier, flopping is generally synonymous with him. And I can't stand him for that, and I'm sure fans can't stand him for that. He was made a laughingstock during the World Cup, where kids were practicing and their coach would yell, Neymar! And they would just drop to the ground and grab their ankle.
Neymar!
Flopping ruins the game, okay? It ruins your image. It's like the boy who cried wolf. It's as simple as that. So flopping is just terrible in the game. Attack the goal. Dribble that ball as far as you possibly can And if you get fouled, you will get fouled and the ref will see it. You don't have to flop where there's no contact whatsoever. Yes, we've seen instances where it happens. It's terrible. We even see flopping in basketball, but you know what? They get technicals for it. And in soccer, finally, they're actually getting cards for it because the flopping has gotten so bad. I hate it. It ruins the game. It takes away from the flow of the beautiful game that we've come to love. Soccer is a game that can be played for all ages. It is enjoyable for young to old. You don't have to stop and get equipment and this, that, and the other. It is a ball, it is people, and you run out in the field and you can play all day. I love it. I don't know why more people don't love it, but that is their opinion on how they love the game. But the problem with it, ultimately, is the flopping. It has to stop. These guys need to stay on their feet, attack the goal, finish, and go all the way. Don't be the boy who cried wolf. Don't be Neymar Jr. And don't have a stupid play made up for you for little kids to make fun of you. The guy may be great, but I don't think he wants that on to... It's not a good look. So that's it. Cut the flopping. Keep playing the game. Allez France, PSG all the way, and I hope to see them in the Champions League final. They're doing fantastic, and you guys should really get into it too. Coming up next time on our show, Joel and the Genius, we will be bringing to you more information about what you should have done in your fantasy season. A lot of people are probably finishing up the playoffs by the time this episode will come out or getting right into them. We'll talk about the mistakes you could have made or the mistakes that you didn't make and a variety of other things. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. Please comment on our YouTube channel. We will be having a new YouTube channel just strictly for Joel and the Genius. And please, comment, let us know if you want us to talk about something on the show or you'd like to send us something to talk about. We'd appreciate it. Coming at you from our studios. Thank you very much for watching. Joel and the Genius. We'll see you next time.
It's a fresh dream. Ooh, it's a fresh dream.